Hi guys, welcome to Roving Books, and today we will be discussing "For You I'd Still a Goat" by Niq Mhlongo. Now, this is a collection of short stories, most based in South Africa. Okay, let's get into it. Why would you even steal a goat? Like, why would you name a story "For You I'd Still a Goat"? Now, the titular story "For You I'd Still a Goat" is the last story in this collection of stories. And by the time you get to the point where the explanation is made, you understand why this is a brave statement. This is a statement of reckoning. Like, this is something you want to remember because this is the length I'm going to go for you because I know this is how much this means to you. So I'm going to steal a goat for you. It's very funny. Like, it's very funny. It was supposed to serve as something pretty much sacrosanct to a character in this book, and that's why it meant that much to the character. And the person that loved him was like, you know what, for you, I'm going to do this thing, and I really, really, really love that. I think Niq Mhlongo, he demonstrates different things through these stories. So yes, we'll start with the opening of the story. The first story in this book is called Unwelcome Guest, and as soon as you open, you are sucked into the story because it's a very fast opening story. I know that we talk about slow openings, fast openings. This story is very fast. Like, the opening is very fast. It just sucks you in. Yes, and you just want to know how does this story end because this is something that is so very funny. Like, what's going on here? And as the story develops, you realize, oh, okay, this is quite genius. I think this is something that I admire, but maybe I would not do, right? Because I think it questioned a lot of moral decadence in the society because is this what I'm going to allow in my family? Okay, what I've the bank has taken my house because of a bond, whatever, blah blah blah. What does that entail for me? Another thing this book does is it addresses so many issues in society. For example, widowhood rights. So in Nigeria there are many stories of widows who when they die, the husband's family takes away all the property of the husband and say he's our brother, he's our son, he's our whatever, depriving the woman and her children with the man of what is rightfully theirs. And we see the same thing happen in this story. But the excuse the man's family give is that, oh, the traditional rites were not completed for the wedding. And that's a very silly defense to make, especially since the bride price has been paid. So the case was taken to court, and I really liked how fast it was dealt with in the court. Because in Nigeria, a landmark case for matters like this is Mojekwu, and it was in court for many years, so much that the woman that was arguing the case, Mojekwu's wife, she died in the process. I mean, her husband had died. She was arguing like, I cannot let the property go to my husband's family. So she's arguing in the court like, oh, this is my. No, she's arguing like her lawyer is arguing on her behalf. But she dies in the process, and her daughter takes place. So that's how long this case is in the court. So much so that it is changed from Mojekwu to Mojekwu and Iwuchukwu. That's why I said I really appreciate how fast the process was in this book because in Nigeria, Igote like, I'm not gonna joke, and you can imagine the kind of damage that would have affected those properties because years in, years out of there being contest over a property means that it is usually not being in use. Because when a property is in court, once there is a court case over a property, most of the time, usually the property is not in use. So you can imagine how long that duration of time would have caused destruction to the property, right? I think a very important thing this book talks about is how oftentimes we underrate people. A gentle face hides a lot of things. I think one saying that stuck with me over time is still waters run deep. Because you see that somebody is calm, you see that somebody is chill, you now think that, oh, there is no madness in this person is chill. I like to say that we should stop underrating people. We should stop saying, "Oh, I can do wicked things to you and walk away with you because this is who you are. I don't think you're going to challenge me. I think you're going to let this be." We should stop doing that because when you reap the repercussion of some of your actions, you are going to regret it because the person that is smiling at you, you will not know that the person has a lot of madness that have been stored or locked up. So there's this popular song, "Challenge Me and See." It's best to not challenge some people. Like, it's just best to be on your best behavior, do your own thing, let them do their own thing, and they leave the rest. Because some people are very dangerous. They are very, very dangerous, and they just hide it. So it's best to like treat everybody like, oh, I don't know how much power you have, how much of this you are, but I like to be safe for myself, and because of that, I want to give you space. So yes. A very important thing this book talks about is privacy violation, especially on the part of writers and their love interest. So when I was talking about affection and other accidents, I mentioned that people like to fall in love with writers because they like to see themselves as art. Now writers will usually immortalize you. They'll tell you like, oh, they'll tell you sweet things like, remember Shakespeare's sonnet for, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I have forgotten this because it's one of my favorite sonnet ever. Something about, yes, shall I compare thee to a summer day? But that was, can you, like, are you seeing those lines? Those lines. So, we know that some people, because of that, they want to be writers. But we have to realize that because writers are humans, they are prone to some things that humans do. Right. So in this story, we see a writer that exploits her lover's past and uses it as um base for her stories. Imagine you fall in love with somebody and then you guys are together for like give or say 3 to 6 months, and then by the time you guys are done, you break things off. The person breaks things off with you, and maybe a year passes, and then you see a book written by the person, and you're like, ah, "This is my ex." Like, maybe we should just let the past be the past, And then you get the book, and then you realize that it was your life story that was inside the book. I know cookies, like they cook your life story, but because of how many bad things you have done, you do not want to associate yourself with that kind of story. So you just let it be. You just let it slide. Like, right, it's a very terrible thing. And when the person is vulnerable with you, you should not use it to harm them in the future. Writer or not, it is very wrong. I think that this book talks about is appetite and displacement. Before I read this story, I knew of Apartheid. I mean, everybody knows Nelson Mandela, and the sufferings of South Africans was real, but to an extent, it was distant to me because, first of all, South Africa is far from Nigeria. Second of all, apart from Sarafina and a few other pieces of work of art that I have seen, I have not really experienced what it was like to be in South Africa as a black person. And in this collection of story, we see, oh, apart from the part that people talk about, there was a place of displacement where people were told, oh, because you are black, we want to evacuate people from this environment because we want to settle white in this area. And so people adhered and they were like, okay, you can resettle us, blah, blah, blah. But we see that even before the deadline, the government comes and then they take these people out and they try to protest, but they see that their protesting can only go so far, that this is how far that they can go with their protest. And so they take a hold on that. And it's very painful to see because, yes, they are shouting, but they are still being told, despite how loud their shouts are, that their voices do not matter. And it's a very, very scary thing, a very, very scary state to be in. I liked the pacing of this book because it was fast in some places and it was slow. It showed the genuineness and the tact of Nick as a writer because, as I said, the beginning of the story, the first story was very fast. But as we went through the pages, we realized that just so the depth of the story, the depth of the happenings can sink into our consciousness and subconsciousness. The speed reduces, and we see that happening. So we know that it is a deliberateness on Niq Mhlongo's part so that we can dwell on this part of the story a little bit more. And not just in this story, we see another story where, oh, a man is called a stalker. Everything is moving fast, everything is moving fast. And then it comes to the place where there is a sort of discussion over the matter, and we see how that pace is slow. So we can understand that, oh, this is a very great moment in the book, and this is why we should calm down. I think the best thing that Nick did was that there was a form of light-hearted notes that he added to all the stories. Like there were some that were extremely really sad. I mean, but he found a way to infuse a sort of sunshine, a form of hope into the story, so that when we read these stories, yes, we are challenged with the fact that many things in Africa are tragic. There are also some parts of African stories that give us hope, that give us joy, that give us happiness, and he injects that into his story. I think that's why the last one ends on a very happy note. Not every story ends with a happy note, and the ones that don't end with a happy note, there is still something a little joyous about it. I think there's only one story in particular where I'll say that did not end on a joyful note at all. But well, maybe to someone else it may have ended on a joyful note. And that's it for me. For you at Still a Goat by Niq Mhlongo. See you tomorrow where I review another short story. Bye.